So, your character Jenna is a protective and caring mama bear type. Is there any aspect of yourself that you consciously or subconsciously put into her?
I think any parenting role, being a parent myself, you obviously empathize with that initially, and but in the movie, it's sort of a crisis point for the family and for Ezra. So it was about finding that like the stakes were so high, and obviously he's a kid with specific needs. He's autistic, and that was a new thing for me to explore as a parent. So I talked to parents, who have a very good friend with an autistic child, and it's been a beautiful journey learning about it.
Especially, it was watching you in this role, it was refreshing to see that your strength as Jenna came from her softness regarding how she cared for Ezra. How did you
Mm.
approach that balance, especially considering the stressful situation she was put in?
The film, I think it's good in that there's a lot of gray areas. She's trying to keep the family together. She doesn't want to throw her husband to the wolves, to the police. She trusts him, but she knows he can be impulsive and erratic, and so it was easy to empathize with that situation. She's a sane person. She's trying to do what's best for everybody, and that doesn't always fit within the guidelines of like legalities. So that was also a thing we really went through with a fine tooth comb in the script to just track how it was emotionally tracking, even if it wasn't sort of in the eyes of the law, a very different thing.
I also loved how you did have that moment where you got to say, I'm tired, which is okay, especially because it's not just being a mother, it's also dealing with the fact that your son is gone in the middle of the night. And
Mm-hmm.
just again, being
Yeah.
able to have a mother say, I am tired, and
Yeah,
that's
I know.
okay.
I agree.
It's
That
okay to
line,
admit.
it's okay to admit that and to not have a solution, but just to be heard, I think is the other thing. A lot of parents, I know as a parent, sometimes you just need to, there's not always a way to fix stuff. You just have to, just want to be acknowledged and said that makes
Yeah.
sense. And that, and I feel like that's a
Yeah.
real moment there for Jenna. Yeah.
Sometimes it's important to just,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
especially Jenna is kind of caught in the crossfire of generational trauma amongst
Mm, mm,
these three generations of men, especially the first two. Could
yeah.
you speak to how you, because she does approach this as a cycle breaker
Mm.
of that generational trauma? Could you speak to that?
I think that's really her role in the film. Also, is that it's about those. It's about that. It's about Bob De Niro's character, Bobby's character, and then obviously the character of Ezra. And she, in a way, can be a little bit of a conduit for the audience of like trying to untangle that and dealing with that kind of intensity of those family, intergenerational relationships and legacies and history, and what's that like for the outsider, for the mother to try to untangle it and also be really frustrated with it and sick of it too, and then it becomes at the cost of what. So I felt that was Tony Spiridakis, our screenwriter, was really open about his own family history and obviously his son Dimitri, who the story is inspired by. So that was great to have him there as a touchstone for the whole time.
Because you're never judging, you're understanding, you're trying to get to the root of it.
Yeah, and it's you want to have empathy for everybody. I think, and that's what excites me about the movies. Like, who are they? Who are you going to be rooting for? And I think that's such a personal thing for each person who sees the movie. But as long as people are rooting for someone, I think it's the
Yeah.
main sort of success of a story like this.
And given that this movie has two characters that are acting on what they believe is best for their son, what's the best advice you can give to new parents, especially new mothers, after your experience on this film, as well as a mother yourself?
Oh gosh, that's such a heavy question. I mean, being a new parent, I will say, is like going to the moon. It's like nobody tells you, but it's like, oh, I'm on the moon. No one told me I was going to be in a completely different world. And now I'm on the moon, and it becomes more integrated with your life, but it takes time. And that is such a cliche, but the cliches can be true. They're a cliche for a reason. But I would say that is that the first time you do it, it really is like going to the moon.
Yeah. And what do you hope audience members take away from Jenna's sheer motivation, not only to find her son, but also her ability to forgive her ex-husband?
I mean, I never want to prescribe how an audience is going to feel or what they, when they see something, but the movie's really heartwarming. It has a lot of levity. It's really fun, and it just gives you an insight into like parents trying to do their best. And obviously Ezra is autistic in the film, but I think for any parent, you can really relate to, eventually your child, this is a cliche, but they really are teaching you something. And that's what it's about. It's about what am I learning here about this kid, about myself, and how can I better help this kid like become the best person in the world they can be. Life's hard. It's hard to be a person. How do I facilitate that to make them resilient, and that's sort of peppered throughout the movie.
Absolutely. There's nothing as perfect parenting. You just have to show up and be there.
Yeah, they say process. They say progress, not perfection.
Well, it was lovely speaking with you. You were a breath of fresh air in this movie, and I can't wait for people to see it.
Yeah, thanks so much for your support. Thank you.